We have this situation in Washington with the preliminary investigation being done by the House of Representatives under Mrs. Pelosi, and you just got to ask yourself, where does this all go? Well, it's going to go the constitutional way. She is following the Constitution and the law, and she's created an organization within the House of Representatives to look into these things. And that's what we ought to do. But it's hard to look into it when the other side, in the White House, is cursing out everybody, calling a member of Congress a traitor, calling a guy who wrote this, that he's something wrong with him. Or he didn't write it. Or he had a lawyer write it for him. Or he's a spy. No, he's not a spy. He's an intelligence officer somewhere in the United States government who sat down and wrote this out. He didn't slip it to a newspaper. He didn't go on television and discuss it. He put it into the system like he was supposed to do.
You think he's a patriot?
Sure he is. I mean, any reason he's not a patriot? This, I used to see some of these things when they came in and over the transom through the objection means of getting something up. And I think he is a patriot. I don't see anything to suggest he is doing anything that is improper. And as you know, his paper has now come out after going through all the channels. He didn't break free and go talk to the press. He let the system handle itself. And the paper that he put out has a lot of consistency with some of the things that the White House put out. So what we need to do is, I hope, get this investigation, this inquiry done as quickly as possible, and let's stop screaming at everybody and cursing people out and calling people traitors and calling them spies and using all of these names of degradation when all we're trying to do is find the answers. So let's cooperate with each other in this in the Congress and get an answer to it and move on.
Do you think Nancy Pelosi is doing the right thing?
Absolutely. And I think it was very interesting in listening to her when she talked about this. I thought she was very measured and serious and talked about the Constitution and saw it as a process. I think it wasn't easy because I think that nothing is easy in terms of making a decision like that. But I think she respects the institution. I think we both have talked about the importance of the institution and the Constitution. It's set up in a way that Congress has a responsibility here. And I think the question is, the one you asked, what was this phone call about? It is possible that a president will make a mistake in talking to some other leader on an issue that is state managed, which is why, in fact, you have other people on the phone, and you can say you might want to have worded that differently and have somebody follow up. This had nothing to do with state business and nobody kind of said anything about it except this man or woman that has been the whistleblower on this,
Colin, what do you think the Republican Party's responsibility is? You're a lifelong Republican.
I wouldn't quite say that.
Well, let me put it differently. The Republican Party desperately wanted you to be its presidential candidate in 1996. So
well, that's not true either, but okay.
Let me try it another way.
No,
you were a very important figure in the Republican Party.
Yes.
What's there? I'm actually right. I'm not going to argue the case. But as such an important Republican, do you worry that the party is putting party or maybe even Trump before country?
Well, let me start by saying I had no political affiliation during my first 35 years in government in the Army. As a career military officer, I had no party. And it was only when I left and there was attention being given to me about running for politics that I said, no, it's not me. And I identified myself as a Republican. But I also made it clear to people that I was a Republican who was Ronald Reagan's national security advisor. I was a Republican who worked for George Herbert Walker Bush and worked for George W. Bush. I'm a moderate Republican who believes that we should have a strong foreign policy, a strong defense policy, but we have to look out for our people. And we ought to work hard to making sure we're one country, one team. And so on that basis, I call myself a Republican. But in the state of Virginia, you're really nothing. You can be anything you want any day of the week.
What do you think?
To answer your question, the Republican Party has got to get a grip on itself. Right now, Republican leaders and members of the Congress, both Senate and the House, are holding back because they're terrified of what will happen to any one of them if they speak out. Will they lose a primary? I don't know why that's such a disaster, but will they lose a primary? And so they need to get a grip. And when they see things that are not right, they need to say something about it. Because our foreign policy is a shambles right now, in my humble judgment. And I see things happening that are hard to understand. A couple of weeks ago, the president put a circle around southeast Alabama saying that it's going to get hit by a hurricane. He put it on top of the meteorological prediction. And the meteorologist said, no. And in my time, in her time, one of us would have gone to the president and said, Mr. President, you screwed up. So we've got to fix it. And we'll put out a correction. You know what they did this time? They ordered the Commerce Department to go out and back up whatever the president missaid. This is not the way the country is supposed to run. And Congress is one of the institutions that should be doing something about this. All parts of Congress. The media has a role to play. We all have a role to play. We got to remember. We got to remember that all of these pieces are part of our government. Executive branch, Congress, Supreme Court, and the Fourth Estate. And we've got to remember what the Constitution started with. It's we the people, not me the president.